Welcome back everyone to Four Lake Forest with a brand new episode. Last episode though, we did finish our main street, the other side is done now, with some custom shops, some stuff to grab some drinks and have the maintenance buildings hidden nicely, but we also did do a souvenir shop with custom helmets to be purchased for our motorcycle ride. Then I wanted to start the indoor dark ride this time, but my brain had other ideas, and so sometimes it happens, my brain just does something different, and so we are starting a miniature ride today. Yeah, that was not on the list, my friends, that was not in the books, but there are a couple of reasons that led to doing this kind of weird stuff today, which took way too many hours to be honest, but hey, that's what you're here for, right? That's what you're subscribed for, that's why you're on the channel, this is what you want to see. You don't want to see the normal kind of stuff. Well, the last episodes, you guys have given me some wonderful comments on what to do, and actually a couple of comments I have seen were always referring to the Miniature Wonderland in Germany. As you know, we already had some nudges to that one done in the past. We did a Planet Zoo kind of diorama for them with this kind of Miniature Wonderland. For those of you who don't know, the Miniatur Wunderland, as it's officially called, or the Miniature Wonderland, they got a bit more international lately. But this is, I'm not sure if it's the biggest, it's surely the biggest in Europe, but it could also be the biggest in the world. Indoor miniature land. They did build almost like every continent in the world now. They did build so many other things. I think 2 or 3 years ago, they opened their brand new area, which features Rio de Janeiro and some other really cool stuff. Even the bridge crossing the river to the other side of the building does feature miniature lands where like trains do go, and they always kind of develop new stuff, and they basically also pioneer new stuff in the area of miniature building, and they have like so many insane Easter eggs hidden in that entire park. It's really like a little miniature theme park on its own. Really loving that. So I've seen a lot of comments, but also comments that said, hey, why not do a reference in here when, you know, Hamburg Park obviously needs one too, but this one also to give this a bit of an idea. So I quite loved the idea, but I didn't really think about what exactly I could do, maybe in the future something. But then all of a sudden, I was sitting down, and the other day I started already to clear the area below the main centerpiece, because for those of you who don't know, the dark ride is going to be part of the main centerpiece of our park. It's going to be very interesting. I have the story already mostly outlined, what I want to tell in this dark ride. I have a lot of ideas. I already tested a couple of animatronics, custom animatronics that I can do. But then every now and then my brain is like, you know what? That's all fair and square, you know, but I have different ideas, and I will haunt you every single hour of the day if you're not trying to do this idea now. And this is how my brain works. This idea isn't letting loose from me. It's not going away until I have put my hooves on it and tried to at least see if the idea can work out. So what you're seeing on screen is exactly this moment. I was laying down the kind of tour for our little ride here, and then I was going to start to see how small I can get these pieces. And frankly, you can get very small in this game. I still don't know why there is such a huge difference in all these pieces, some of which can scale super nicely down, some others can't really, and some go to 5%, some to 10, some to 50. It's not really, you know, there's no coherency in that, and I wish that Frontier could do that. I've seen a very good video of Yonti Geekism. He did basically a rating of the sorcery pack, and honestly, he has some very good points. Like, I think for me personally, I would still stick to what I've said in my review. It's still a kind of 9 out of 10 in my book, you know, hopefully, and that's what I said, hopefully over time becoming an 8 out of 10. So that was kind of my idea. And the way how Yonti phrased it, I want to say you could easily give it an 8 out of 10 also for my rating, because he had some very good points that I do hope in the future will be fixed in future DLCs, making this in hindsight definitely only a 8 out of 10 or maybe even a 7 out of 10. And one specific thing he talked about is like still the kind of size of the pieces. And obviously we do have scaling now, but some of the pieces in this pack are awfully oversized because Well, I think it's also part of the issue is the iconic style they want to go for. They go for this kind of stylized stuff where they do the research. When we've been at the office, Frontier has shown us a lot of things regarding how they research pieces, how they go into the concept phase. And I think one of the things why that is, there's a good explanation for that, is because they do the research also in the way how real theme parks do this. And part of the theme park experience is doing everything a little bit more exaggerated. Everything is a tad bit exaggerated to bring you in that mood of a theme park, which they also translate into every piece being a little exaggerated. That kind of fantasy door is a bit of a bigger door because it just gives you that feeling of being smaller yourself and just experiencing that huge kind of area. I don't know, it just kind of makes something with you. It changes your mind, and it's all good and all fair, but at some point they just went a little too big, I guess, at some point. And with scaling, just you can still keep them at the same proportions as you have right now for the general Planko style. I don't think they should change their style now because, or let's say not style, but the size and proportions, it would make up for a big problem if they would start doing this now, simply because then it wouldn't fit in with the old packs and make them also not as nice. But what they could definitely do is they could definitely make sure that these pieces have a bit more of scaling option down to 20 degrees. This is exactly the point that Yonti Geekism did bring out. So it's not my own one here. It's basically just quoting more or less what he said and what has been discussed also in Bro Nation quite a lot. So I fully agree with that, and I would definitely love to see them having this ability. Nevertheless, there are a lot of pieces still in the game that you can utilize in order to make fantastic miniature stuff. I don't want to forget about Sylph also, by the way. I'm not sure if that was Sylph's very first Planko 2 attempt. I think it even was, and he did this insane kind of miniature train thingy where he used another ride in the ground, buried into the ground, and then made kind of a miniature ride out of it with, essentially the same tricks and having all these tiny stuff sunk into the ground, making all the trees and stuff appear very small. And with a couple of little tricks, you can make a miniature area feel really miniature easily. I also figured that these water pieces can be scaled down fairly small, and this is again where I took a bit of creative freedom, I should say, creative license here, because I felt like I don't need to stick to the exact size. When you look at the Miniature Wonderland, for example, they have a fairly consistent ratio in what the scale is. They, as far as I know, they do vary a little bit here and there, but overall, they do have a very consistent scale of, let's say, this is, by the way, I don't know if the number is correct. It's just, I just a random number, but it's like 1 to 72. I don't know if that is the ratio you go for. And then everything is like between 1 to 70, 1 to 72 to just make sense and just make it all good. But I think in this kind of ride over here, you don't really need to. You can have like the first area of this one being like in a 1 to 20 and the other one is 1 to 50. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. When you play with the perspective, you can also get away with different sizes. So what I did use the houses and scaled them here and there to fit better into the dedicated environment, making sure that when the waterfall, that was the smallest I could get a waterfall to, so I scaled these houses up a little to make the waterfall itself feel a little bit more small. I think this is genuinely you can do these things very nicely to compensate for other things, and I feel like this worked fine. Also compensate, but also just making sure things look nice. That was such a tedious yet satisfying work over here. I figured that if I scale down one of the rocks very tiny and activate the random rotation, you can make one of these very cool retaining walls over here with these things. So I was putting that in for the coaster, I think to make this kind of a near miss element in here, that was the perfect decision. Anyways, near miss is a good segue. Oh my god. If you are about to miss a good game, well, you shall not, because I have instant gaming for you. You can check out the link in the description or to the top right now. This is a service where you can grab games for good value, but also you can get in-game currencies or season passes for certain discounts here and then. So, for example, the season pass for, or actually the Xbox Pass, or what's it called, Microsoft Live, whatever, is becoming more expensive, so you could get it now for lesser and then later on have more available to you if you want to, but also there's a lot other stuff. If you want to have it, check it out and you help me directly. If you opt into the site, you can also bookmark it for me 30 days after you click the link. You'd still help me by purchasing. So you don't even need to do this directly. You can just check out if there's anything for you, and if not, fine, you can still let yourself be notified if something is in. A lot of good stuff. Anyways, let's go back to the game, because the game this time around was a lot of fun. I did do a couple of cuts here and there, so when I was changing certain things with the houses or attempting certain styles, I did not bring this in because, oh my god, that took too long. But over here, this is so fun. This is a tiny little fence, and I had a couple of issues with the controls. I will check out if this was just temporary or not. If not, I definitely have to write a mail to Frontier. Something seems to be odd with the duplicate to, I gotta call it, to cursor. So, in this game we've got two types of duplicate. You can duplicate from origin with the advanced move, which is Control X for the most part, or you can duplicate just to have it on your cursor, which is Control D. Normally, when you do the Control D, you can then have the selection be there again and again. You just duplicate, you have the selection, you place it down, and automatically another duplication or another duplicate will be created, and you can keep on clicking them down. This seems to be gone for me, for whatever odd reason. I always have to click Control D, Control D, Control D after each time placing, and that is so odd. It also used to work within a group or without a group, but now it doesn't work at all. It's a bit of an odd one, so hopefully that's fixed with the next start of Planko, I do hope, because that is one of the most frequently used tricks I use. By the way, speaking of tricks and tips and blah blah blah, I will have another mega tutorial ready for you guys soon. I've already started recording it, but oh boy, that takes long. The first one was already hilariously long, but the next one is going to be even longer, simply because of so many things have been put into the game ever since, and we need to make a complete new one. I thought I'm gonna just upload an addition to it, but oh boy, I won't. That just doesn't make any sense, because it's such a humongous monster of a change since the very first one, so I have to completely bin the first one. Anyways, you can see after a while I figured out a couple more pieces, and this piece from the Viking set acted like a very cool soil texture, and also I figured then we have these other things that could act like a wonderful little sheep. So we also have some sheeps on an area here, just putting a couple down. Not too many of those, just making sure you have this effect once, otherwise you could spam them everywhere, but I just put them in. And last but not least, what I wanted to also have in here is a little railroad crossing over the actual thing itself, because every good miniature area needs a railroad. You've already seen that on either the thumbnail or the intro shot. It has been a lot of fun building this, my friends. That was one of the most satisfying and, yeah, also in a way for me personally relieving builds I've done. As I said, when my brain once comes around the corner with an idea and it can't let loose, I'm forced to do something. And there is obviously also a chance that the idea doesn't work out. That just happens way more often than you would think it is. I don't know, people always, I think YouTube in a way is fake anyways. I can only tell you that whenever I do my commentaries, I've heard so many people saying, hey, you rambled so much, could you just do a script for your videos and blah blah blah. I hate scripts, okay? I do hate scripts because I feel scripts most of the time, especially with those videos, are super fake. You can make yourself some notes, what you want to talk about, which I start doing, because otherwise it's actually too worrisome that I'm going to, delve into too many other topics. But I just feel that is fake. However, what is fake is that obviously you're only seeing the good results at the end of the video, because putting all the fails in would make the video dramatically longer than it already is, but also there is no point in showcasing that other than making a tutorial for you. However, what I'm saying is that it always kind of appears like as if YouTubers or people doing these videos, they always come up with the most fancy ideas, with the perfect building, never fail, blah blah blah, which is totally not true. I don't know how many fails I had also attempting this bridge over here. I don't know how many fails I had in the first attempts making the main street. I didn't even do the map in the first go. So there are lots of things that I don't include in the video because they're just trash, okay? They're fully trash. So please, if you guys want to have inspiration from here, that's totally fine. But don't feel like discouraged because you don't build like that in the first go. That is just normal, okay? It takes time and patience and more time and more patience to build something nice looking. It's just not naturally appearing in front of you, even not with the biggest talent. Even though I have to say, sometimes with Sylph, I have the feeling he just looks at the screen and there's a beautiful spire appearing. I think that happens. I think I've got something there. Anyways, I just did put in a couple of station bits here. It's like a very generic station for the moment being. Even though I like it, it's a bit of charm, you know, it's very nice. Even though I said it's highly themed, I think the miniature land itself is theming, more than enough theming, so we could get away with a bit more of a generic station. That said, we are still working on this area. There's a lot to be done, and I will talk about that in a real-time part. So there is a lot of backstage stuff also going on in the next coming episodes. I didn't know that I'm going to do this episode today, so I have moved myself into a bit of a trouble, because usually my plan was to release the Dark Ride today and leave out the main station from the Dark Ride that I wanted to do in another episode. However, now that we are sitting here, I'm not entirely sure, and maybe you guys can decide. Maybe you guys put in the comments what you would love to see next. Either we go for the Dark Ride, or I'm going to finish off this area here for the coaster. There is a couple of things coming. I do speak about that in the real-time part, as I've already recorded that, I do know. So please let me know in the comments down below what you would favor going for the Dark Ride in the main building, or actually going for finishing off this area. At this point, I'm really free. I don't really know what to do, so, well, you let me know. Maybe I do both and then see what I do release first. I don't know, but, you know, there are a couple of things in my head, and we all don't know what my brain comes up with in the coming days, so maybe it's going to be something totally different. Again, that's what you're here for. If you want crazy stuff, well, then do it. Also, if you've checked on my socials, you may have noticed that I've been in Cambridge again to visit Frontier again. Well, there's something coming. You better peel your eyes on the channel. There's some really good stuff coming in the upcoming weeks. I cannot wait to show you. So much to show you guys. But now, speaking of showing you, let's move over into the real-time part and show you how that actually looks in-game. Alright, we are starting our real-time part today in the corner where we are actually accessing the mini Black Forest, as it's called over here. You will be seeing a couple of changes in the background that I have done without recording. I'll get to that when we've actually checked out the finished version of our mini area. I got to say that this mini area, there are a little bit of tweaks here and there will still be needed, but I am already pretty damn happy. Here you can see one car getting into the ride, you know, going over the lake right away, and then into this kind of miniature area of the Black Forest, climbing all the way up to this highest hill, and then going around that little castle section all the way down. You can see there's also the train coming in and then coming out again. As I said in the time lapse already, I needed to create a bit of a trickery here. Obviously, there is a chance to make this with a underground ride, to make it really appear as if it's going, you know, in a circle or something like that, as Sylph has done in his build. But honestly, I thought, you know, for the effect, that is also pretty much more realistic as it would be in a theme park, you know. Surely it could be rotated and then go into the other direction. I already thought about making this like with a, you know, kind of timed thingy. I think that should work somehow, but then it needs to pass the bridge quicker. But at the end of the day, I think it's all fine. You know, it's all good as it looks. We do have a little waterfall over here where the little village is next to, and then it comes over. Look at the train coming over here. Playing a lot with perspectives, you know, to make things appear bigger, smaller, depending on where I want to have it. And yes, I could have gone into more kind of, you know, different styles and stuff, but I think to sell the idea, this is all pretty much what it should be. Now, accessing this area, you can see it's a pretty damn nice ride also for the people. They do seem to like it. The Prestige is relatively okay. It's, you know, it's a new ride and stuff. The station as of now is fairly simple. You can see that that's the station over here. We have a couple of roofies in here. Nothing too crazy. That's just where the vehicles can park. There's like, it's coming around here. I will make a bit of a maintenance access door carved into the wall as if this is just like part of it. And also will make the lower part of the walls and the roof look a lot better. That's just like for the moment, as you know, as soon as I will touch the entire backstage area, I will fix this. You know, normally when I say this will never be fixed, but trust me, in this case, it's a little bit different because I do have a plan with this entire area. It's just like that. This episode today was a bit of the result of my brain going a bit weird and having this weird idea all of a sudden. And you can also see that some of the perspectives over here I have designed in a way that only from one direction you see them. So we are standing in the wrong direction now because that is just the back side of that hill that you don't need to look at. But yeah, so you can see the people coming by. They can see some of the little sheepies here over there. There we've got some of our wheat farms and whatnot. I could have also put like a windmill in or something like that, but I think this is all fine. I had some more ideas to put certain things in. I will potentially put a couple more in as we go in this area. But yeah, so this is the ride. We can see it from different angles. I do really love that. I also love the interaction with the coaster. You know, the coaster goes all the way by there, and then we can barely see it behind. That's exactly the idea. When it's coming, like in a bit, we should see it come around here. That's such a cool angle. There you see it. Woo! Passing by. It has such a nice pace here. It's not too crazy, it's not too aggressive, so that it does actually work. I may actually put like a little bit of a fence in between nevertheless, make it a bit more secure. But yeah, so that's this. From over here you've got a nice view to this kind of vineyard, which to be fair is going to change. This is a placeholder. I tried it with the pieces from the fantasy pack, but yeah, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. They don't look as good anymore. The other foliage in this game just looks way better. And you can see the LODs, like the draw distance for the details, is ridiculously low, so I may actually change this and do this in a bit of a different way because it all can look better. You can also see these little poles over here, these wonderful, I forgot again the German name for that one. I think it's Leitpfosten. Yeah, that's what it is. So it's basically guidance or guide rail or guide pole. Is that like a guide, whatever? Guidepost. I think that's what it should be. It's like a guidepost, and it does signal you if it's the right or left side for like when it's, you know, hazy or whatnot. Especially in these countrysides, that's very handy to have. Like most of the times, also like in the Black Forest when weather is very bad, these things are the only left item that'll signal you where to go. It's a bit of an unfortunate effect that some of the things bleed through, even though they are nicely designed. But whatever, you know, they do fulfill their job in a way. And you'll see them popping up every now and then. I'll be just going this way because that is going to be our way into other areas of the park. Just going to quickly show you where we will get a lot of nice peaks to the coaster. A lot more stuff will be hidden by foliage, by walls and stuff. That is all going to look so much better. We will have some more shops in between and just a bit more park interaction. This is going to look a lot like a park. This area over here obviously is super dangerous as of now, so it's going to change dramatically so that people can actually have a good time here. We will have also a nice interaction with the bridge over here. It's going to be very, very fun. We do have also a little pond here that is going to be very nicely visible from here. I thought about putting some cool stuff in here. Once you go up the hill, you'll have that wonderful view from on top here. That's going to be a nice view, and in the back you'll be able to see the top hat, the spike or spline, whatever, actually visible in the back where the coaster goes up and then goes down. So yeah, that's that. And then you can see the top hat all the way in the far back with a bit of backstage in between. Just looking so freaking good. There you go. There's another coaster coming by, winding its way through here very nicely indeed. You can see our centerpiece. These angles, like, they're all coming together now. It's all coming together. I'm so happy. And then you meander your way through here. That's obviously going to be all nicer and more quiet now, you know, as the sound of the park goes away, and we'll make our way into a new part of our park, which is going to open up over here, which is going to be a bit of a different themed area. That is going to take some time until we are there, but I do have a very loose idea already for what is going on in the back here. here. But for the moment, it was kind of important for me that I do already draw a connection between this area and the other one, because there's also going to be a bit of a more bigger path guiding here, so that this kind of hill in the middle is somewhat enclosed by pathing around, and our path, like the whole park itself, should become a lot more like a usual park, that the pathways in general have a bit more, in overall more space. Like, they are very narrow. This is something like a theme park would never do, but like that entire area over here is becoming almost like one entire plaza once it's done. This plaza over here is going to grow significantly. Same goes with these areas. So it's going to look a lot more like this over here, even though I have to say that this over here also looks a little bit too weird at the moment. I may break this up by, for example, whoops, I should just go in here, by just putting in some other things, like, for example, breaking this with this, and then put a stamp in here, for example, like so. I don't know, like, this is something I would do. Technically, this is not exactly what I do it right now. We should the foundation curves go away, and then we could also make all of these be very dark indeed. Like, this texture, unfortunately, is a very kind of weird one, so I'm just going to do it that way now, and then, as you will see, putting the stamp in will end up in still looking like this. I mean, it's kind of okay, I can see myself doing more like this in the future, just to be able to have a bit more of a difference in the path design, even though I must say it would be realistic to just follow this a bit nicer over here, or make the sideways. Like, this is something I could actually, I'm not sure if I can do this already, but I think what would be very nice is if we just paint these ones differently. There you go. Is it the same as I had over here? Yeah, it is. So I'm definitely going to go with this one, because that is exactly a bit of a difference I wanted to draw anyways. So let's just do it that way to just get a bit of a, yeah, that is so much better. I'm just wondering, can I get this more red indeed? Like, just like dark red? Ah, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That is awesome. Can I get this a bit darker though? There you go. Yeah, a bit more washed out even. Maybe a tad more even. Let's see. Yes. Yes. That is absolute it. That is exactly what I wanted here. Yeah, there we go. I'm just going to paint that one too. Awesome. Look at that. This is exactly what I wanted. I'll have to do this a bit different over here. There's a nice little bit I can paint in. Yeah. No, that's absolutely nice. That is absolutely fantastic. And I'm just going to do this here too. Everything is nice. See, that's what I meant. This is the part of the difference I wanted to have. And just to, actually, I like that, I guess. We can have to make that one. Yeah, that looks a lot nicer. That looks a lot nicer. You could do kind of the same over here as well if you wanted to. I don't want at this point. I want to show you around a little bit more because I did a couple more things I did not talk about. So you can see there is a flat right over here that is going to be placed here because I found there's a very nice idea in combination with the vineyard. So that is going to be somewhat of the mimicking basically how you just kind of make the grapes into wine, just step into that thing and just kind of swirl these things and munch them or whatever. Just like a bit of a joke here, bit of a nice idea to just tie that in. And I'm also not entirely sure what I'm going to do with this area in the center here. It's also like a very fun little space that could be utilized for various things. I'm not entirely sure if you have an idea what, but definitely we are going to make, maybe we're going to put like a vineyard in here even, like a little winery or something like that, like a house. And that corner over here is also going to change a bit more. That was like a little bit of a placeholder for potentially like a quarry or something like that. Maybe I'm going to keep that a quarry. I don't know. The only little problem I have is that it's starting to be a little bit more cramped because I wanted to make like an open spacious park, and this area feels almost like a little too cramped in my opinion. I can definitely see that one being fine because we do have this little pathway leading in, as is a fully complete area here. I do also I love the bird's perspective from over here. I think that looks super nice indeed. If we can just turn around, you can frame that so nicely over here. It's so nicely framed. If you put that here to the screen, you can see that. So freaking nicely framed. I love that, and the coaster itself will benefit so much from it because you'll get so many different viewing angles. As for the area here with the queue. You can see there's still a bit of a messy thing here going on. But the idea is now, I did have a couple of things going on in my head, but what I will do is I will basically turn this into like a backyard, you know. This is going to be a backyard of all these houses, and we're going to have like a wall enclosing that, and we are basically walking through a bit of a garden. And I thought maybe we can tie in a bit of a story of an old monastery, almost like that would fit very well together with this region, and it would kind of make a lot of sense to have that kind of backstage area, or backyard area, I should say. And it does also fit into our like motorcycle tour, which gives the idea that you're maybe having like a sleepover in an old monastery, which has turned into basically like a little hotel, or not even a hotel, maybe just like a little inn, you know, where you can spend the night, I guess. So yeah, that's what it is, and that's where we are standing at right now. I am insanely happy about this project. I'm still so freaking in love with this project. It's so much fun to build in here. I would love to just continue right away. I do have a couple days off, so I may be able to do a bit more in the coming days. I do hope so, to make some more ground in this wonderful project. But oh boy, I cannot wait to fill in more of this park. I'm so eager to also hear your feedback. You guys had so many great ideas already. So the only thing left to say is shoot me with your ideas. I do need your ideas in order to continue and make this project even better. If you've got ideas to theme this area, or if you're even from the area of the Black Forest, let me know what kind of iconic things you have in mind I could put in here. And as always, a little reminder, if you guys like the content and you want to help me in a bit of a different way than only subbing to the channel, which by the way helps already tremendously if you would do so, but also if you want to support me in another way, you could either buy a game via Instant Gaming. The link in the description, just bookmark it. It's the easiest way, and whenever you need something, go via this link. This helps me directly because, you know, you'll help me fulfill my kind of targets, but also a small amount of the sale is going to me directly, and that is pretty good because you will save money anyways, because they always have great discounts. So that always helps me. And in any case, if you need infos or whatever, I highly recommend my Discord. Lately, I have been able to at least put a couple days in for a schedule, which I try to do. Usually this episode should have aired yesterday, but as I've got the kids and my wife didn't feel so well, I had to do a bit more with the kids, which is totally fine, and I love it, and so I needed to postpone this video at least a day. But yeah, so here we are. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. I certainly did enjoy it quite a lot, and now I'm wishing you a wonderful week ahead, wonderful day, whatever time you're consuming this video. Enjoy, and if you're still not having enough from me for whatever reason, there's a bajillion stuff on my channel. You can click the next video, which is suggested to you, or you just check out another series I have done in the past. So whatever you do, enjoy it, and I talk to you in the next one.